All right, fantastic. Hey, everybody, it's Ann Baranti. It's Wellness Wednesday, so I have some of my team on here. I have some people I see from Isogenics from our huge team, and then I probably have some people here that are guests. Maybe you follow me on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, or maybe you just are not using any supplementation. You're just curious about it. So I hope that what I present here will really help you just gain a little bit better understanding. If you don't know me, I'm here in Connecticut, and like I said in the beginning of the call, there is no air conditioning. So it's about 100 degrees in my office right now. So by the end, I'm going to be melting, right? When you see me disappear off the screen. But I've been with Isogenics 13 years. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I'm a scientist. And I really have learned a lot through the years by just deep diving. And so probably many of you, I see a couple women on here right off the bat that I know love to read and research and learn and educate. And so I think as we get a little more mature, I like that word better than old, we want to learn and we want to be advocates and we want to understand. And what I love most is when we exchange information and we learn from each other because one thing is not a fit for everyone. And but your story might be the story that impacts someone differently than mine. So at the end of this little presentation, I'm going to open up for questions and conversation. Please, I say this with love. Leave at any time. It's okay. There's no pressure to stay. I always find the nuggets are at the end at the conversations when we start sharing. And okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully, made a little PowerPoint for you guys. It took me like 4 hours. You're gonna be like, that took 4 hours, but I wanted to have some slides so we can see this. So hopefully that's going to be good. And of course, Denise, I can see you and you can see the slide, right, hon?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Okay. So all about creatine. And first, I will say that I'm probably going to call it creatinine because I am a scientist and I studied creatinine clearance for a long time. And so you'll hear me fumble over the word because I'm going to say the wrong one. But anyhow, it's all about creatine. And there's a lot out there in the wellness space about this supplement. So I wanted to do our Wellness Wednesday focusing on this. As I said before, the information here is for educational purposes only. I'm not a physician. It's not intended to say that anything we say tonight can cure, treat, prevent disease. So who, what, where, when, why? What about this creatine? What I learned is it's one of the most studied supplements in the whole wellness space. It was first used in 1932. Let me see if I can move my screen here. Sorry. Uh-oh. Here we go. Oh, no. Sorry. Sorry, guys. I got to shrink you guys so I don't see anybody. Okay. Fantastic. Basis for 600. Okay. So it was first discovered in 1932, which is a long time ago. And then it kind of, went away. And then in 1992, the Olympics really brought this in and they were talking about being bigger, stronger, faster. And it was more for the male population. And then in the early 2000s, they talked a lot about this for cellular studies. And then it's had a resurgence in 2024, 2025. And so if you look at this picture, it is a whole body boost, right? Helps enhance cellular energy, helps build and strength and lean muscle, supports brain health and focus, makes workouts more efficient, helps promote long-term vitality and healthy aging. So we're going to dive a little bit into that so we can learn a little bit more. I like to know the why. When I know the why, I'm more apt to take something. So this one supplement can support muscle growth, strength, recovery, mood, energy, bone health, and brain health. Creatine optimizes daily health. And so these are three nuggets that I've got from the Isogenics. Creatine supports mental clarity when sleep falls short. That's a big one. Creatine helps menopause-related muscle and bone loss. That's a big one. And creatine is the most overlooked supplement in women's health. And the price point on it is fantastic. So I think pretty much everyone should benefit from that. Okay, so I didn't know this, so we're going to deep dive into the science. It is naturally produced in the body and the liver and the brain. And the muscle is where we really want it to do the work to make us leaner. It does not create creatine, but it holds 95% of it. And the other portion is in the brain, bone, and other tissues. We can get it in our diet. And so it's primarily from red meat and seafood. So if you're eating seafood, fatty fish is better. And usually in a serving of meat, it's about 1 to 2 grams of creatine per serving. So I know there's a lot of different people that follow a lot of different diets. The carnivore diet, they might not need supplementation because they're eating a lot of red meat for the muscles. But if they want the benefits for the brain and the bone, supplementation is beneficial. And then, of course, is our vegan population, and they definitely have a harder time consuming it naturally in the diet. One of the doctors I listened to said, you don't really need it, but supplementation will definitely help a vegan person have more lean muscle mass and better with their performance. So this is a little picture just depicting a scoop of creatine opposed to what you would have to put on a plate to get that same equivalence. So obviously supplementation is really helpful here. When creatine gets into the muscles, it potentially allows the muscle to have more energy to do more work. And so I know we could talk about ATP and all that, but I don't want to go there and complicate it. So just think of it. It's allowing you to be stronger because you're going to be able to do more reps. Then you're going to have better recovery. You're not going to be as sore. And this gets you stronger, right? Because if you're working out to fatigue and then you're sore for 2 or 3 days, sometimes we go back to the gym before we're completely recovered, and that next time you hit it, you might not hit it as hard because you're still recovering. So think about it as training harder and building lean muscle. And as we know, when you improve your lean muscle, you improve your body composition. And we also know that muscle is our longevity organ. So this is so fascinating. It's so many benefits. So why supplementation? First thing, bone health. It helps preserve what we have, ladies. Okay. And you'll see I'm going to talk a little bit about dosing. So, and you're going to see I might change some numbers as we go along, but they talk about for bone health, it's 8 to 10 grams per day.
Is sick leave just to get days off.
Oops, especially in older females. So when a woman is stronger, think of it this way: when you're working out or you're using any type of resistance, your bone is going to be pulling more, the muscle will be pulling more on the bone. And just in your daily activity, just in your exercises, and this is going to stimulate your bone cells, and this is going to help. The creatine helps with the energy. So it's really excellent in terms of bone health. And it's especially important for postmenopausal women that no longer are producing high levels of estrogen, right? Our estrogen, our hormones all shift. So this was very interesting to me. A 2-year study was done with 200 menopausal women, and this study took 10 years for them to actually complete. It was 11 grams of creatine a day. They worked out 3 times a week of resistance training using whole body machines, and they walked about 150 minutes a week. And the findings after 2 years using the creatine supplementation was that preserved their bone density around the hip region. Okay, that's really impactful. It made the bones more rigid, which is good, nice and hard, and it improved lean tissue mass and gait speed. So let's break that down. If you have anyone that's aging or you've gone to any type of nursing home or long-term care facility, we know that a lot of times fractures happen in the hip area, and that really leads to a not a good outcome for a lot of people, right? And so if you can have a way to have that be supported naturally and to improve your lean muscle and to improve
Oh, come on.
speed, oops, then you will have better health. So in this study, I want it to be noted that exercise is the driving force, okay? You cannot supplement your way out of a bad diet, right? So if we're supplementing and we're eating junk, that's not good. We want whole body health, and we want nice clean nutrition, and we want exceptional supplementation. So the thing I want you to take away too is women can change body composition post menopause. So to sum it up, we lose muscle mass as we age. Creatine can help preserve the muscle. In this study, it shows that bone mineral density improving in the hip area, and it will keep you out of long-term care facilities, which I know is my goal for sure. And then this is information from the National Institute of Health about bone health, just so you see. They did a couple of studies. One here says without resistance training, and what they saw was different things. 4 studies said it still has a positive effect. 3 studies said creatine without exercise resistance training does not have an effect, and 1 study had mixed effects. So anything I've learned was that definitely exercise is something that's really important with this supplement. Also, on the right, the slide says there's evidence that these compounds stimulate bone formation, okay, the osteoblasts. So all I want you to take away from all this is, hey, it's good for my bones, good to know, and I need to make sure I do resistance training. Okay, next thing, creatine supports mental clarity when sleep falls short. This was fascinating to me. So the brain does make its own creatine, okay? And supplementation is definitely something that can help, but it is very tricky because you have to cross the blood-brain barrier, okay? So in the studies, what I've heard is it can help, and again, this is just information for you to know. They talked about concussions and stress and sleep and memory. So memory, thank you. When the brain is stressed, it'll take up the creatine from the bloodstream or it relies on supplementation. And creatine will act as an anti-inflammatory agent. It decreases the metabolic stress and it allows the brain to recover. So sometimes, you know what, if you're really stressed or you're not sleeping, you just feel foggy, the creatine is going to help with that. And again, stress might be jet lag, sleep deprivation, or just stress. They talked about college students might really benefit from this during exams. They also talked about older individuals notice it improves with memory. So this is a debate because it has to cross the blood-brain barrier. And I know one study said 20 grams a day is the number, but from what I've learned, 20 grams a day, once you have muscle saturation, you're just urinating it out of the body. So that's probably going to be something that's going to be studied later on. Another thing I loved, when traveling in different time zone, there's a benefit. And they talk about doing a 20-gram load for a week prior to traveling and then traveling. So traveling to Fiji kicked my butt 14 hours or whatever it was. I wish I knew that then. So if even when I travel to California and back, this might be something to know that might help you. It was noted that for the brain, again, you need a higher amount. You really only need 5 grams a dose per day for the muscles. And again, another study said if you really want to think about the brain, taking 10 grams a day, 5 in the morning and 5 at night would be ideal for muscle, brain, and bone support. That's what I seem to conclude from all the studies I looked at. Best time to consume. So it's not a stimulant. You can consume it any time of day. A lot of people might be worried about, I'll get to the next slide. I won't go ahead of myself. Take it 5 grams a day. You can break it up into 2 doses. There is a lot of different data about when to take it. Pre-workout, intra-workout, post-workout, before bed. The bottom line is be consistent. What to combine it with? I thought this was an interesting one as well. There is no research that has been conclusive as what micronutrient, vitamin, taurine, magnesium, all the things is best. What they did say, which I thought was a shout out to anybody that's using Isagenix, it is best when combined with a high quality whey-based protein because of the leucine, that amino acid. For those that use Isagenix, our plant-based shake offers a very close amino acid profile to that of undenatured whey. So if you're plant-based and use our shakes, you're good to go. They also talked about omega-3s being paired with it. They're still researching that. Creatine combined with collagen has shown some added benefits for bone health. So that's something to know if you have somebody that's concerned with bone health. That would be something I would suggest pairing it with. Electrolytes with protein. So our clear protein is a great idea. And then years ago, they really thought it was best with carbs, like a lot of carbs. But as we move into this space, people are like, I don't want all that carbs. And they're finding that that really isn't the best anyhow. So the takeaway is when you take it, just be consistent. Most people take 5 grams once a day. And for Isagenix, it's one little scoop in here. But please remember that when the muscle contracts, it helps with the creatine uptake, okay? So exercise is key to maximize benefits. All right, water retention. I'm sure some of you have either seen this, heard it, somebody's told you about it. It happens usually when there's a loading phase, which they used to say to do 20 grams for 7 days. It's really not recommended for the majority of individuals, maybe for Jeff Beebe, who's really buff. But anyhow, if you're concerned about that, start slow at 3 grams, or you could even start with 5 grams and divide that into 2 doses. And the reason for this is the creatine takes water into the muscle. So you're increasing your intracellular water, and this usually will, cease around week 3 or 4. Okay, next thing, this is a big thing for me, caffeine and creatine. First of all, don't add it to super hot coffee. Second of all, this is really big from a mechanistic standpoint. So totally science here, molecules. Creatine and caffeine oppose each other. Okay. So although it is okay to add it to your morning mug of coffee, Debbie BB, because it has 85 milligrams, just know that if you're a chronic caffeine user, it might have effects and it's not recommended. So I know I do an e-shot almost every day, the nootropic, and I do one big mug of coffee. So I'm pretty good, but just know if you're not seeing benefits, maybe your caffeine level's a little too high. So found that very interesting. Okay, I want to talk about this too. So there is a blood test called the creatinine clearance, and it's ordered by doctors, or used to be, to assess kidney function. So if you go for a physical, they used to order this test all the time. A lot of doctors don't use this anymore, but some still do. If you have labs and they happen to run a creatinine clearance, the results will be elevated. It's not anything to be afraid of. Again, I'm not a doctor, consult with your physician, but basically it's because when you take in the creatine and it goes into the muscle, it's broken down and it has a creatinine waste, and that goes into the urine. Okay. So if that were to happen, your doctor would have you come off the supplement for 3 to 4 weeks and retest you. There is a more specific test that's a little bit better, in my opinion, cystatin C. So again, consult with your medical professional, but I think that's important to understand that and know in advance. So why supplementation? It's easy to use, many benefits. There's over 1,000 studies with this one supplement. Safe and effective. Remember, 99% of the benefits are driven by exercise. Now, here's a little bit of what I found for dosing. 2 to 5 grams is a great way to start. It appears to me the magic amount, 5 grams. Most studies say 5 grams a day is ideal for the majority of individuals. For brain health, 5 grams with long-term use, I'm talking month after month after month, will have benefits. But other studies, again, say 8 to 10 to 15 grams because it takes more to cross that blood-brain barrier. So it's either 5 grams, if you're thinking of the brain, you're like, eventually I just want to support my brain. 5 grams long-term is the bang for your buck. If you're like, I really want to try a little bit more, then 10 grams would be what I would do. Again, bone health, 8 to 10 grams. And pretty much don't take more than 5 grams at a time because you pretty much pee out the extra and you'll have expensive urine. What to look for. Okay, so I'm new to this, and this is a slide from Isagenix, but what I have heard is now that this is the big rage, they're coming out with gummies and candies and all kinds of things. But just remember, they don't have the same absorption or delivery as powder, right? And we are what we absorb. So we know that. Monohydrate is the safest and most effective. Micronized creatine offers more benefits because it's smaller pieces than regular creatine, makes it easier to dissolve. I know the one we have with Isagenix dissolves super easy, not clumpy at all. And it's also more gentle on the digestive tract, and there's better absorption. And then the biggest thing is third-party tested. Really look at that and find out if the company tests one batch, every 3 months. See what they do for testing. I do trust Isagenix, as you know, and many of you do as well. You definitely want to have something that verifies the quality, safety, and ingredient accuracy. So that's a big one. I am finding a lot of these supplements actually come from China. So this is a little bit about the different forms, and I'm so new to it. I know ours is pure, and there are a lot of pure forms out there. So this is what I like to pair it with. I made this slide about 5 minutes ago, but I love it because you want to get that leucine, that amino acid, really ideally. So our protein shakes are amazing. Our clear protein would be my top choice. I love it, and it has electrolytes in it. And then my favorite protein is our tri-release protein. So I definitely think I throw it in my morning shake or my morning tri-release. And then I know they talked about putting it with electrolytes. And I put this coffee bag up because if you're a coffee drinker, just know that you want to make sure that your coffee is tested for mycotoxins. So I'm not sure what you're drinking. Of course, Isagenix has a great coffee, but you definitely want to have a very clean coffee. You know, if you're trying to honor your body and trying to just be as healthy as you can, those small cumulative things you do matter. So get a clean bean, and even if it's organic, make sure it's tested for molds. So that's what I have. Thank you for being here. It's very quick, but I think what I love most is that this is helping women's health as well as men's. And just remember, it's a very simple product to use. It's tasteless. It seems to be very safe. And I think it's very exciting because it can help us as females be stronger, improve our lean muscle mass, help our brain, which we all need, our bone health, and so much more. So that's really my little simple presentation. I hope it was of value. And I'm going to open it up and for a chat before I melt. Anybody want to add anything? You know, I kept on talking about the BBs because I know Deb and Jeff, they're great. And yeah, so anybody want to add anything that I didn't add? I'd love to just have this conversation.
I actually you kind of want to reiterate things that you said that are super important. And I love that you use mature instead of aging because I just had that mature birthday. So I love as we age, we lose that creatine in that muscle mass. We also, I took notes, so I'm looking at my notes. We also lose muscle mass, right? So as we age, it's really important to fuel our body with that creatine. Then it's going to rejuvenate the energy stores in our muscle mass. And then going on to, and this is super important, people think that little old ladies or little old men fall down and break their hip, right? That's what they think happens. But actually, what's happened is because we don't have that muscle mass and that bone health, we get fractures in our hips and it makes us fall down. And then the break is worse. So I think that this is highly important to really take this creatine very serious. And then being from fitness and nutrition for over 30 years, a gazillion years ago, we did creatine as athletes. You can go harder, longer, stronger in the gym. However, it was probably had fillers with it. It wasn't just straight creatine, had fillers with it. So we would put on that water weight. It wouldn't just plump our muscles. We'd put on that water weight as we would load. And then you'd have to do all kinds of cardio to try and get that water weight off so your muscles would show. Our creatine has it's micronized. So it's very small and powdery, and it is uptaking into our systems a lot faster and a lot better. You don't have to load, and I'm excited about that. And it's going to cause, you know, I saw the question about what's the difference in the creatines, the HCl, actually less stomach problems. Well, with this, I have found no stomach problems because it's so finely done, and there's no fillers in this. And the price point, like you said, Anne, is like
Yeah, $20. So this does not cause, well, I speak for myself, and this is where we get real, but I haven't had any issues with gas or bloating at all. I haven't had any digestive issues. And I'll tell you, I don't put it in my coffee because my coffee is a sacred experience, but I do put it in my protein because I have them at the same time. But you know, if you're having it twice a day and you just know that when you start to eat more protein or protein paste, that you're going to be fine. I just prefer to keep my coffee like it is. But yes, it doesn't cause any bloating, and I think it's fantastic.
and the newer study with Dr. Arciero, we used to mix it with cranberry juice or grape juice. We were told that sugar was the delivery system. That was the study way back. So your carbs, right? Sugar was
Yes,
the delivery system, and it's not. So finding out about, you know, the protein and the
right.
leucine, and it's brilliant. So I do mine in the morning, and I have a little bit of my shake, and then I do my creatine. I still mix it with just a tiny bit of cranberry juice because I don't want it in my shake. I want to make sure that I'm really ingesting all the creatine before I go to the gym, but that's just me.
Okay, that's great. You know what, Deb? What got me thinking is because all my notes are downstairs and I just threw these slides together. But the reason they did do the carb is because when you get an increase of insulin is when you start to drive it in. And so now they're finding like protein with the leucine has that benefit. But when you do have whey protein, you do get a sugar spike. So, and that's important. I mean, you get a sugar spike when you eat. So nothing to be afraid of. But yeah, that's great information. I want to ask anybody here. I'm just curious. So I've been taking it, I don't know, since it came out. And I'm like, is it a placebo or am I getting stronger? I really feel like I don't know if it's been, I don't know how long it's been, at least 3 weeks, maybe 4, maybe 5. I feel like I'm stronger. Does anybody have the same experience? Bonnie said yes. Luann said yes. I know Denise, a lot of you. Yep. I can see you all. Dawn, you too. Yeah, it's interesting, right? And so, the price point. So I'm going to look at the questions in a second. But does anybody else have anything they want to share or
I'll,
add
I'll,
or
I'll
know?
pop, I'll pop in here as a
Hey,
guy.
Jeff!
uh, You know, like Debbie said, you said, but we used to load on creatine. I mean, for 2 weeks, week, 2 weeks, double the amount. And it does make a huge difference in the gym. And for me with this, I still, just because of old habits, like Debbie said, we mix it with our cranberry juice, just a little tiny bit, just to get it in directly. Uh, but I've seen a big gain. Now we got the samples right off the get-go, and we've been doing it nonstop. And all I can say for everybody is creatine, you got to be consistent.
Right.
It's something that you're not going to do it one couple days and then stop for 3. Just be consistent. You heard Ann talking about brain health and all that stuff. But if you want to see massive gains in the gym and start seeing definitions and your muscles growing, your shoulders defining, and your biceps and the vein coming out, you have to, that's what I hunt for. I want that vein, you know. Uh, but for me, I take the full scoop. And then if I'm working a large muscle, now they recommend the 5 grams, the full scoop. Well, I look at body size a little bit. And so my scoop's a little bulged, And then if I'm going to work a large muscle like quads or something along with the rest of my body, you know, I'll take an extra scoop later on that night. You know what I mean? But long as it's a large muscle, but 5 should be fine. But if you're going to work a quad and you're going to work it hard or a hamstring, a large muscle, then up it a little bit, but later on during the day, so you space it out. Like Ann said, you don't pee it out. And
Right.
but be consistent and price range. You can go look at these other bags. They're bigger, but they're double in price. They're the same when you look at it, the price range, because somebody questioned us on it. And I said, no, look at the amount in this one, look at the amount in that bag, and it's the same price. Ours was even cheaper, but they're just looking, oh, this bigger bag. They didn't look at the quantity and the quality.
Yeah,
And so,
quality matters.
yeah,
The
so that's it.
third-party
That's what I have
testing.
to say.
That's awesome, Jeff. Thank you. So I'm going to read the question since.
I was going to say, do you want me to read? Somebody wanted to know if you could take
And
it during Wednesdays.
this is Connie. Can I read a testimony that I just got from my upline longtime friend?
Sure. Read away, sister.
We were having a conversation about the creatine, and she said, I'm telling you, the creatine has already been a game changer for me. I asked her some questions. She said, I take 1/2 scoop, just mix in water very first thing in the morning. Sometimes I put lemon and a dash of Himalayan salt in it. She said, we're going to Maui in a few weeks. So I started working out harder and eating much better the last month. And it's hard to explain, but I can tell a difference in my muscle definition and fast, and also in my tummy area. And she said, I think between it and the Harmonia, I finally got my hormones back in check.
Awesome. See, that's awesome. Thanks. It's a great share. Awesome. Denise, yeah, you want to read some of those questions? And if I don't know the answer, somebody else will know it.
Ronnie wanted to know if you can take it during cleanse days.
Can we? Yes, I think so. Pretty sure.
Yes.
And then Susan said, I've been adding to my XM and hydrate. I guess I need to stop doing that.
You know what? I just want to get the most bang for my buck. That's the reality. Once I know the science and I know how it's going to be better absorbed, then I'm just apt to do it that way. But so that's my recommendation, Susan. And I know what Susan that is too, wherever she might be. Yes.
And then Pam said, can you speak to how the creatine monohydrate compares to the creatine HCl? Do they serve different purposes?
Debbie Beebe's shaking her head. Maybe she knows. Or somebody
Yeah.
else.
Creatine is creatine is creatine. It's just how it's formulated and how it's done. And like I said earlier, the HCl is maybe easier on your stomach. However, ours is micronized, so it's the most powdery, quickly absorbed, and will give you less stomach ache if somebody were prone to a stomach ache.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
And somebody asked where the creatine is made.
Oh, I love this question because I know Dr. Paul was talking about this, and I'm going to ask for again. My brain's a little fried, but I know that Creapure is in Germany, and they talk about that. And so, because And if whoever was asking that question, I'm curious why, but I do, does anybody know where this is made? I don't know, but I do know it's tested for a zillion different impurities and for quality and third-party testing. And I know Creapure was the one that everybody said was the best, the gold standard. And I have a chart somewhere, I don't have it on this presentation, comparing Isagenix to Creapure, and I believe we definitely compared even or better, but I don't have that chart available. So if anybody knows that, unmute and speak on it, because I
I don't
don't.
know where it's made, but pure creatine, that's the one we compared to, my buddy. That's the one
Yes.
we used to take.
Yes.
And price point, this is better. I mean, it's basically even across when you look at the size of the bag versus what we
Yes.
did. And you know, we deal with the best of the best, so you don't have to worry.
Right, exactly. Awesome. So I really know,
And
like,
you don't want to put anything in your body that doesn't have BV to it.
exactly. Inside joke for most of us. But, you know, so I hope that that was a, you know, a value, ladies. So maybe you just understand. I mean, so just think it's going to stimulate your bone, like your osteoblasts, wherever they are, your bone cells, right? It's going to help with your brain. It's going to help with lean muscle. But I really think it's important, like, because one of my clients had said to me, I'm not really working out. Can I benefit? And so I think that's a gray area. I don't want to say there's no benefit, but definitely muscle contraction is what you require, right? So like protein itself, like our shakes, they definitely help with muscle mass, right? Just because the inherent of the quality of the protein, the uptake of the protein, the cleanliness, the bioavailability. But when you get into this product, you have to do work, right? You can't supplement your way to a lean muscle all the way. You have to do resistance training to preserve it and create it. So, you know, and it doesn't have to be crazy. Body resistance, whatever you can to create resistance, bands. We're not going to go into exercise, but that's pretty much what I have. Does anybody else want to ask any questions? If you're here as a guest and you happen to want to know about Isagenix, get back to who invited you. But what I wanted you to take away is this is another great arsenal. This is another great tool for women's health. And so, no, you don't have to know all the science. Just remember that it's so good for us, right? And it's easy to take, and it's not expensive. $20 for 30 servings. Hello. All right, that's what I got. Thank you for being here. Cleanse Day, freaking Wednesday. Ugh, I'm over it. Tell my husband.
I'm cleansing today too. Great
All
job.
right. All right. All right. And I think I've lost a pound in my sauna. It's so hot. All right. Love you all. Have a good day
Thank
and good
you.
weekend. I will
Such
see
awesome
you next
information.
Thanks,
year.
Anne.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Anne.
Oh,
In
thank
Denver.
you. It was